If you're getting ready for a trip and trying to figure out how you're going to stay connected, you already know that public Wi-Fi isn't something that you can rely on. Half the time, it's slow, spotty, or just doesn't work when you actually need it. And searching around for Wi-Fi while you're out and always reconnecting to some random cafe is a pain and also not so secure. That's why I personally switched to using eSIMs. There's no physical SIM card to deal with, and you can set everything up before you even leave. So once you land, your phone just connects and you're good to go. So in this video, I'm going to get into two popular options, Saily and Airalo, how they work in real life, what they cost, and what the experience actually feels like, so you can decide which one makes the most sense for your next trip. Alright, so an eSIM is basically a digital SIM card that's already built into your phone. Instead of inserting a physical SIM card, you download a mobile plan directly to your device. You set it up ahead of time, usually at home on Wi-Fi, and once you arrive at your destination, it connects to a local network automatically. You don't have to remove your main SIM, and you don't have to change settings while you're on the move. That's really why people use eSIMs for travel. It takes away one of those small but annoying parts of a trip and lets your phone just work in the background while you focus on everything else. Alright, starting with Saily, it's created by the same team behind NordVPN, which makes sense because there's a lot more focus on privacy than most travel eSIMs. Saily is built specifically for travelers, and the setup is really straightforward. You download the app, pick where you're headed, choose a data plan, and follow the steps to install the eSIM directly onto your phone. Everything happens inside the app. Now, you do need an internet connection to activate your plan, so it's best to install it before you leave. I forgot once and tried doing it over bad airport Wi-Fi, not fun. It still worked eventually, but since then I've always set it up at home. That way, when I land, it connects automatically and I don't have to do anything else. Saily works in over 200 countries and offers country-specific, regional, and even global plans. And one of the things I really like is that you don't need to keep installing new eSIMs each time you travel. It uses the same profile, and you just add new plans to it. So if you're traveling more than once a year or traveling between countries, it saves a ton of setup time. Now, in terms of their pricing, it really depends on where you're going, but most of the plans I've used have been really affordable, especially compared to roaming fees or buying a physical SIM card at the airport. You'll find plans for under $5 in places like Japan or India, and regional bundles if you're traveling across Europe or Asia. It also comes with a few helpful features that make a big difference. There's a built-in ad blocker that makes pages load faster and cuts down on background data use. There's web protection that blocks shady websites, which is especially useful if you're using hotel or airport Wi-Fi. And then there's something called virtual location routing, which basically masks your IP address. It's not a full VPN, but it adds a nice layer of privacy, and I've even used it to stream shows while abroad without any issues. All of that runs in the background. You don't need to install extra apps or toggle anything. I haven't had to think about it since. Saily also gives you a heads up when you've used up about 80% of your data, and you can top up in a couple of minutes in the app. And if you're on a plan with 10 gigabytes or more, it includes free access to NordVPN, which is a great bonus if you're working remotely or using public Wi-Fi often. Now, just keep in mind that Saily is data only, so if you still make traditional phone calls or use SMS texting, you'll want to switch to apps like WhatsApp or Telegram. I already use those day to day, so it wasn't an issue for me, but it's just good to know. And before you buy a plan, you can use the app's built-in checker to see if your phone supports an eSIM. It takes just a few seconds and can save you a lot of hassle later on. And hey, if you decide to try Saily out, I've got an exclusive 15% off discount for you. Just use the code GVUTech at checkout when downloading the Saily app or visiting Saily's website. Now, moving on to Airalo, it's one of the biggest names in the eSIM space. And the main difference here is that it works more like a marketplace, so instead of offering one unified service like Saily, Airalo connects you with eSIMs from different local providers in each country. So when you're browsing for a plan, you'll usually see a few different options depending on the region, some from bigger carriers, others from smaller or more local providers. That gives you a lot more flexibility, especially if you're trying to find the cheapest possible option for a short stay. The setup is still pretty straightforward. You install the app, choose your destination, pick a plan, and follow the steps to activate it. Like with Saily, it's best to set everything up before your flight while you still have a good connection. Once installed, it works the same way. Your phone connects automatically when you land. One thing I noticed with Airalo is that it uses a new eSIM profile for most plans, so if you're traveling to multiple countries, you'll usually need to install a separate eSIM for each one. It's not a huge deal, but it does take a bit more setup and organization, especially if you're going through several countries on the same trip. In terms of pricing, Airalo tends to offer more low-cost, small data plans, so if you're just looking for 1 or 2 gigabytes of data to check maps or send messages, it can be cheaper than other options. But if you need larger plans or coverage across multiple countries, Saily often ends up being more cost-effective overall. Also, Airalo is purely focused on data. There aren't any extras like ad blockers, IP masking, or web protection features built in. It's very much you get what you pay for approach, which is fine, especially if you just want something simple, but worth noting if security or privacy is something you care about. Airalo also has in-app support, which is pretty helpful, and they reply pretty quickly. So here's the big picture. If you prefer something that works across multiple trips and doesn't need much ongoing setup, Saily makes things really easy. It's been reliable for me in different countries, and those extra features like ad blocking and web protection were helpful to have, especially when I was relying on public Wi-Fi a lot. If you're just taking a short trip or want the lowest price for a small amount of data, Airalo is definitely worth looking into. It's a little more hands-on if you're going to multiple countries, but if you're staying in one place, it's a solid option that works. Both apps let you set everything up ahead of time, and both are way more convenient than dealing with SIM cards at the airport or roaming fees from your carrier. And just as a reminder, if you do want to try Saily out, there is a 15% off discount with the code GVUTech at checkout, which works in both the app and their website. Hopefully this video helped you figure out which eSIM might be the best option for your next trip. And if you'd like this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And of course, if you've got any questions or comments, feel free to drop that down in the comments below, and I always try to get back to them as soon as I can. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.